Welcome, GMs, to another exciting year of fantasy football. This week, I decided to do something a little bit different and do a post draft special where I'll do a little analysis on every team and do the usual trade block and also do an interview with one of the GMs. And then I also have some projections for the outcome of the season. So, starting off, I want to give a warm welcome to some of the new GMs this year. Tank Destruction is Mike, and Jared, Jordan's younger brother, is taking over SF Niners. They play each other in week one. And for this matchup, I'm going to have to say that I will give it to Tank Destruction. I think that they are going to win this week. Moving forward, looking at the first team here, Russian Renegades, they had a bunch of picks in this upcoming draft, and they have a lot of depth now. They don't have any real weaknesses in their offense. They have solid core of wide receivers. Even Hayward Bay should be able to put up good numbers. The addition of Dwayne Bowe is very advantageous, and I think the biggest issue is health issues with Jermichael Finley. But regardless, they have Greg Olsen, who, with Jeremy Shockey gone, now Olsen will be able to get most of the receptions there and will be able to be a little bit more of a impactful fantasy player. The only issue that I can say with the Russian Renegades in this season will be the defense. They didn't put a lot of emphasis in drafting defense this year, but either way, they are still above par on this one, so you better look out for Russian Renegades. They're going to be a top 3 team this year. Benchwarmers, the defending champs of last year, they still have a huge core. Aaron Rodgers still the number 1 quarterback going into this year. I think another main thing for this team will be injuries. I think that with Dez and Matthews is already coming off of an injury, but healing is definitely comforting as well. Dez Bryant looked pretty decent in game 1, and I think that as long as they can stay healthy, he should be able to be a top contending team as well. The main issue that I have with this team is he's putting a bit of emphasis on high impact rookies with Jeffrey and Williams and Donald Brown. Hopefully some of these guys can actually perform well. They're pretty hit and miss. Are they going to be able to get enough time on the field to actually be fantasy impactful players? Otherwise, I think that that might drop his standings a little bit. He has some pretty good defense there, so I think he did a pretty good job with drafting that. He has a great kicker as well. So basically the only problem is injuries, and filling in a couple of spots with rookies might be a little bit of a downfall for him. Superchargers, he has a couple of good Cowboys players, probably a couple of the biggest weapons on their team. I think DeMarco Murray coming into his first full season, I think he's going to be a huge impact running back this year. He obviously has one of the top wide receivers again this year, and basically the only problem that I see here is depth. Drafting Halou in one of the early rounds, I think it was first round, is a bit of a problem because of all the depth that is in Washington as well as the injury problems. So I think that maybe that was a bit of a bad pick there. Basically, being in the North Division as well, I think that that's a bit of an issue for him. Not having all the depth means that there is a good chance that he's not going to be making the playoffs this year, and I think he's going to be in the bottom third of the league this year until he can either move to a different division or gain some extra depth. Looking at my team now, I think that basically the main problem that I have with my team would be the second running back situation. All of them are going to be backup running backs, so unless somebody gets hurt, which is what I'm relying on, I think that that's something that I really need to fix, is to get another second running back. The deal for Kenny Britt, could be a very risky one. It could be very rewardful as well, but looking forward, the wide receiver core that I have is overall a very talented set of receivers. The core that I have, the keepers, are definitely, I think, a top 5 in the league here. And I did put a lot of emphasis in defense this year, and I think that I, again, probably have a top 5 defense. So I'll be looking to make the playoffs, and I think based on the projections later on, you'll see that I will be able to become probably second or third in our division and be able to make the playoffs. Looking into the South Division now, anything goes. Coming off of a bit of a bad year last year with some injuries, he's looking forward to Andre Johnson being healthy this year. Jimmy Graham having a fantastic year. This is going to be very comforting for him to have a good tight end here. Jay Cutler, drafting him, I think that with all the offensive weapons that he has now, he should be able to put up a decent year. The problem that I see with his team is he doesn't have a lot of depth, especially at wide receiver. Other than his main keepers, the depth isn't fully there, and especially with Foster going into week 1 questionable, this is a bit of an issue with the Houston team. I love his defense, though. I think he has a lot of huge assets there, especially in the secondary. I also like his defensive end. I think that he's going to be having a lot of success with his defense. Here we go with the Stone Cold Laws Nation. I think that, he's not going to like what I have to say about this team, but again, he's going to be a bottom team this year. I think even with the drafting of RG3, it's not going to be as impactful as somebody like Cam Newton last year. He's definitely improved his wide receivers, which are his biggest weapons this year. But looking forward to his running game, I don't think that he realizes that DeAngelo Williams is not what he used to be back in 2008, 2009. He's just not there anymore. And so the problem that he has is he has some decent players, but he doesn't have depth or enough skill in his keepers to make the playoffs this year. And especially not having a first or second in next year's draft, he's going to be a bottom contender at least for another year until he can gain some more picks and draft some good players that way. The Bus coming off of a good year last year. I don't see him being able to do that again this year. He has some definite weapons here. The main problem, again, that I see with this team is his second running back with Willis McGahee. The Denver Broncos are definitely a pass emphasis team. However, they're trying to incorporate the run this year. But the problem is they have Lance Ball, they have Noshawn Marino, who's actually healthy now, so that'll take carries away. Hillman, they don't have to worry about because he's taking on more of a Sproles role this year. But again, he has some definite good wide receivers. So that's something to look forward to. However, his wide receiver 3 is a little bit sketchy. He has Sidney Rice and Laurent Robinson, but again, they aren't very the most skilled wide receivers, and I don't think they'll be able to put up significant fantasy points this year. He does have some depth, with quarterback and with his tight end just in case, but with Gronkowski, I don't see any need for that. I do like his linebackers, his defensive end as well. I like his D-line there, but I think that he needs some help in his secondary, if anything, this year. So he's going to be a playoff team this year again. Gridiron, the biggest question heading into this year definitely has to be, can the Matt Stafford and Calvin Johnson 1-2 punch be enough to make him a playoff contending team? Even with Julio Jones, I still have to say he's not going to be a playoff team this year. I think that he's going to be pretty close. He's going to be anywhere from 9th through 11th this year, and it's going to be based on, can he make any more deals that will improve his team and get him a little bit better running game or something like that, or a third wide receiver that can put up enough points to bump him up into the 8th spot. I do like what he's doing with his team. I love his defense. He has one of the best defenses in the league, I have to say. He puts so much emphasis in that, as you can tell, with trying to improve and upgrade the point system for defense. But again, looking forward, I still think that maybe in a couple of years he might be able to do it, but I've loved what he's done in the offseason with some dealing, to get Matt Stafford. I think that was a great deal for him, having the 1-2 punch. James Reddy, I think he as well, he's going to be another team trying to fight Gridiron for something around the 9th place spot. I think looking at his wide receivers, I'm very impressed with what he has. He has one of the best set of wide receivers. He has depth there. That's the most important thing. He has Michael Turner now, which I think is also a decent running back option. However, the problem is they are looking at a reduction to give some touches to Jaquez Rogers, and I think also looking at the Isaac Redmond. He also has Mendenhall at least. So I mean, it's going to be a little bit sketchy to see who gets the touches there, and if any of them can actually be able to put up enough fantasy points to make him be a good team. Josh Freeman, he should be able to be a little bit better than he has been because he has Vincent Jackson. Mike Williams is looking to be a little bit better this year. So it's going to be a close call, but I still don't think he's going to be making the playoffs. However, I do like where his team's heading. Tank Destruction, one of the new teams. I think that he's still going to win the division. It's still a weaker division. It could be a close call, though. The teams in that division aren't the strongest, but it could go either way. But I think Tank has the probably the weakest schedule, and he's going to be able to take it and make it into the playoffs. With Brady and the drafting of Demaryius Thomas, I think that's huge. I think he's going to be able to put up a decent season here, but I think the problem that I see with Tank is he doesn't have a lot of depth at the wide receiver spot, and his running back situation isn't bad by any means. However, it's not the absolute best, which is why if anybody's going to take it, I feel like James Reddy has the option of possibly taking it. Gold Standard's in there as well, so it's going to be a close call, I have to say. SF Niners, the other new team. They're going to be a bottom team this year, basically, with one of the keepers being a backup running back. That definitely is a huge problem for them. He had to draft Cedric Benson to replace Michael Bush as the RB2. That's a problem because he's on a complete pass emphasis team, so he's not going to be a huge, impactful fantasy guy. I like a couple of his wide receivers. I think that they're decent. They aren't the biggest name guys, but they are able to put up points when you need them to. But basically what's happening with Jared is his expectations for this year is to sell the guys he has and rebuild for another year and try to get a younger team. I really like his linebackers. I think that his secondary is not bad either. He has a pretty decent set of defense as well. Gold Standard, basically the way I'm looking at him, the acquisition of Reggie Wayne is huge for him. I think having a healthy Adrian Peterson could actually bump him ahead of Tank Destruction, if anything. But the basic thing that I see here is that he has some problems with that. You never know if he's going to be healthy. He has too much emphasis as well on the Pittsburgh Steelers, which could be a bit of an issue, which is why I don't think he is going to make the playoffs. I think if it's not Tank Destruction, it would be James Reddy. But I think Gold Standard will probably finish 9th or 10th in this upcoming season. I love his defense. Again, him and Gridiron, they have probably a couple of the best defenses this year. They're putting a lot of emphasis there. So whatever he doesn't have in depth for the offense, he definitely makes up with his defense. The next division, the West. This is one of my favorite teams coming into this year. I think he completely rebuilt his team in the course of one season, and I love what he did with it. Tony Romo, I have to give a little bit of credit to, obviously, being on the Cowboys. I really like that, and he played really well in his first game. AJ Green and Torrey Smith, a couple of my favorite receivers. I really like how they're going to be able to perform this year, and I think Denarius Moore, he's going to be a good complement to the other two. He might not be as good as Hayward Bay, but I still think he's going to be able to put up significant points this year. The running game as well, I think he's going to be able to do wonders with his running game, and I think he has depth, which is the biggest thing here for bye weeks. I think that he's going to be able to win even on some of his major bye weeks, and he also has some good quality defense. Basically, the way that I see this, the main thing that he could work on is getting a little bit of secondary help. Other than that, I'm really looking forward to seeing how this team can actually do. The next team, WWJD, I have to say he's going to be another top contender. He's going to be competing with Russian Renegades for the season title this year.